We have the freedom to pursue whatever we desire, but we don't have the freedom to choose that which we desire. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of WolfeSound podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the psychology of desire and how to reclaim our minds. The shadow makes us blind to our true heart's desire. When desires are inspired within us, they happen naturally. We don't decide to desire something or someone. We don't understand the process. But I do believe we can master our desires by understanding our true motivations. Since we're mainly either motivated by what we fear and what we desire, we must lift the darkness one layer at a time. We can eliminate the desires that were motivated by fear through dealing with our demons. What we'll be left with are the higher desires that help us fulfill our divine calling. Here are a couple of things that often inspire our desires. Our innate preference. We desire aloneness, for example, because maybe we fear socialization. Or we desire social activity because we fear being alone. Fear can steer us into opposition by desiring something in fear of its opposite. We may desire wealth because we fear being powerless, and desire failure because we fear the criticism that follows success. This can be equally evident during elections when people vote for someone just because they fear or dislike the other candidate. We can feel a pull toward a person who resembles our early family dynamics. Maybe this person resembles a parent we have unfinished business with and mimics their attachment style. We may not know why we desire this person until they expose our core wounds, which is a good thing because it's an opportunity for healing. But what if we no longer are driven by our fears? Would we have the same desires? And if we do, what would they feel like coming from a higher motivation of the heart? What new desires will be revealed, and which will die along with the demon that hosted it? Who are you without your fear? What would you allow yourself to pursue? In order to unpack all this, we have to overcome a couple of hurdles. Cognitive dissonance. This is the disease of our time. Cognitive dissonance is holding two opposing beliefs simultaneously. It's when what we want is in sharp contrast to what we believe. It creates great discomfort in the mind, which is why people eventually drop a behavior that conflicts with their beliefs or drop the belief to further indulge in the behavior without guilt. The time it takes to drop one or the other can be stretched. They sway between the pursuit of pleasure and the guilt that follows the next moment. People who are broken-minded will often blame the object of their desire rather than condemning themselves for desiring it. Blame shifting and projection softens the intensity of their mental anguish. In religious communities whose teachings are heavily built on shame and fear, people are divided between their desires and their beliefs. In permissive communities, they tend to naturally refrain from extremist behaviors. Deprivation intensifies the desire. Cognitive dissonance is tough to reconcile because most people aren't aware of their mental divide. They deny, project, rationalize, and justify. Once we become aware of the areas that make us divided, we can make a conscious choice to drop a behavior or a belief. Dropping damaging beliefs prompts us to naturally drop our extreme ways. Another hurdle to overcome is confirmation bias. Confirm what I want to acknowledge and confirm the falsehood of what I want to deny. This is the voice of confirmation bias. It is when someone refuses and denies any evidence that does not support their beliefs, no matter how strong the evidence is. There is a fear behind every stubborn stance. When we identify ourselves with our ideologies, we fear being exposed to perspectives that may threaten our reality. Fear of loss is a major player in confirmation bias. If you allow others to present new evidence that goes against your beliefs about it or your comfort zone, you fear losing your right to keep doing whatever you were doing. Haters engage in this narrow-mindedness whenever someone shows evidence of positive qualities in the same person they are hating on. They simply refuse to accept it. They continue to find fault. We can all recall an instance when we had to go to great lengths to prove our innocence to someone who refused to budge from what they believed about us. What they gain out of it may be too good to give up, and the loss is too great, should they change their mind. For example, if someone's best interest is to demonize you, they will be relentless in rejecting any positive trait about you. People are often self-serving and are skilled at justifying a behavior for personal gain. It is ignorance of convenience. The point of revealing the underlying dynamics of our thoughts, preferences, and judgments is to remember using our critical mind rather than react out of fear. The world seems to be at a constant state of reaction, which is loud, aggressive, and often clueless. Here's the difference between reaction and response. A reaction reveals our conditioning. A response reveals what has been healed. A reaction is an answer to external actions. It's our autopilot. A response comes from a mindful and intentional space. When we react, it's mindless reply according to what we have been conditioned or triggered by. When we allow our buttons to be triggered by an external event, we go into an autopilot reaction. But when we respond, we can reply to others without being fazed by them. We feel grounded. This is authentic power. Being in a state of reaction is much more common because most of us are being led by our shadow and ego selves. Self-responsibility gives us the ability to respond. We can't be responsible while being in a state of reactivity. Either we respond or we react. What we react to reveals what our insecurities are and what we identify with also. It announces our fears. What we respond to reveals what we have accepted within us or what we do not identify with anymore. Critical thinking is a habit of intelligent and powerful minds. Only the weak-minded hold on to stubborn notions that were injected in them long ago. Prisoners of narrow ideology, they prevent their own growth. Once we exercise critical thinking, we get to slow down and regain control over our minds, thoughts, and voices as we gracefully respond from an authentic place rather than jump to false conclusions. There is courage and power in slowing down and in the admission that sometimes we can be wrong. This is the way to open our hearts and minds. And in that, we get to truly be free. Thank you for listening. I will see you in the next episode. And remember to exercise critical thinking. Have a great day.